Here are the two greatest forms of self love and what you can do to start to harness it today. So, growing up, I was poor. I hate to say it. Actually, I don't hate to say it. I'll be honest. And this is me just being authentic. Growing up, me and my family, we did not have it. We didn't have enough food all the time. Sometimes I didn't have enough clothes. So I had to borrow my brother's clothes. Sometimes the lights were out. Sometimes we didn't have water. Like growing up was tough, and I was one of five kids. So in the house, we had seven people, and sometimes we had to double up in terms of the rooms and all that stuff. So growing up, things were tough, and if you ever grown up like that, you know what it's like. At first, it seems normal until you see the friend or you go visit a friend who has the big house, the nice cars, the nice clothes, and all this other stuff, right? The nice shoes. And then you start to see, wow, we're really living in the gutter, you know what I mean? And it can be tough, if you will. But I will say that is something that actually made me who I am today because I built that resiliency and also that motivation that I've gotten from going through tough times actually shows me what it is that I want out of life. But all of that is for a different story. The main point that I want to get with this is growing up the way that I did, I developed a scarcity mindset. So when I developed the scarcity mindset, I treated dollars, coins, money, all that stuff as if it was like the holy grail and I couldn't let go of it. If I ever went to a restaurant, I always told them, hey, just give me the water. I don't want to drink because I knew the bill would be cheaper. That was the kind of mindset that was instilled in me because I knew if I let go of this dollar, there's a chance that this dollar wouldn't come back to me for a very long time. So I took that mindset and it followed me up until honestly when I became an entrepreneur. And I came across a really great opportunity. And I actually had to ask one of my friends about this opportunity because it was really, really expensive. So at the time, I was quitting my job and I came across this conference that was going to be in Orlando. And it was called Funnel Hackers Live. And if you've seen the YouTube video, you can see that I'm wearing the shirt. And to go to this conference, it cost $1,000. And I'm sitting there like, yo, like that's almost my rent, right? $1,000 at the time was a lot of money. And, it's all relative to who you are. But I knew that that was a lot. So I had to ask my friend first, who I knew has spent money on events like this. I had to ask them, do you think it's worth it? And without hesitation, they said, yes, look, you should go. And she said, you should not only just go because of the information that you're going to get, but you should go because you are simply worth it. And that's when it hit me. I was like, you know what? I am worth $1,000. Because here's the thing. At the time, I was spending thousands of dollars on my teeth. I had to get root canals. I had to get crowns. I had to get braces. Like I had to get fillings. I had to get so many things. And I'm like, yo, I'm giving this doctor's office thousands of dollars each year for my teeth. And yes, it is for me, but still, I'm giving them a lot of my money. So I said, hey, the next time I made a deal with myself, I said, the next time I spend $1,000 outright, it's going to be for me. All right. Whether it's investing in stocks or investing in my business. And the first time it was in stocks, and I bought Amazon back in like 2017. I bought a few shares of that for a couple $1,000s, and it's doing well, as you can imagine. But that's neither here nor there. But the key was knowing that, hey, I was worth it. And guys, I went to this conference and it changed everything about my business. One of the best things that I learned was about copywriting. Copywriting is a skill that honestly helps you to be able to connect with your audience in a way that makes you seem attractive. Once you get them to stop and read your content, they're going to feel more almost like involved, not involved, but invested in you, if you will. They're going to feel connected. That's the word that I'm looking for. So it was great. It was amazing. And when I left that conference, I had this epiphany. I had the epiphany that if I go and spend large amounts of money on myself, I can actually get large amounts of money in return back for me. So as a result, I am not afraid of investing. Actually, I'm very quick to invest now because I know the type of mindset that I have. And this is another thing. This is not for this podcast, but maybe I'll make another episode for this. But you have some people who are willing to spend high dollar amounts because they know they're going to make this service, this product work for them. They're not going to sit back and just kind of like, not be involved, if you will, right? I don't, and it depends on the service that you're buying. You do have some done for you services, but then also you have some done with you or do it yourself services. And we receive coaching, that's a do it with you service. It can be do it for you, but most times it's a do it with you, meaning I'm gonna sit with you, give you the content, give you the information, but then you got to go and act on it. And for people who are willing to spend that large amount of money, sometimes 5, 10, I was given an offer to buy something for $20,000 a year, and that's another story too. But that right there is what separates people from being really, really great at what they do and then just being okay. And this actually really sets the point. And I heard this in church. There was this sermon, this scripture that I heard in church, and I want to share this with you. So it comes from Matthew chapter 6, verse 21. And it says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be." Think about that. I'm going to read it again. "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And that's Matthew chapter 6, verse 21. What does that mean? That means wherever you're putting your money, that's what you deeply care about. So if you're putting your money into PlayStation, Xbox, or let's say, Jordan, if you like Jordan shoes, which I do, right? If you're putting the bulk of your money in other people's dreams, I want you to ask yourself, what does that say about your dreams if you're not spending that same amount of money? So I want you to ask yourself, actually, I'll even challenge you. I would challenge you with this. Go to your bank statement and look at how much money you're spending in, let's say, leisure time, restaurants, travel, and then you can even break it down from there and looking at the brands and the stores. But I want you to look at how much you're investing, and I want you to see how many of those things that you're spending is over $100. And I'll tell you just to start there. And then I would ask you, am I at least spending $100 into my business? And if you are, great. But if you're not, I would tell you, let's start there. And I want you to think about this too. If you're having plans of making, let's say, $10,000 a month in your business, you may want to look to spend a little bit more than $100 per month. Now, I don't know what type of business you run. There's a good chance you could spend $100 and you can get 100x that, but it can be very unlikely. So I want you to think, how can I spend more money? Whether it's a one-time purchase or maybe it's a recurring purchase, but you need to look at how much money I need to spend to hit this mark that I'm trying to hit profitably, right? With high profit, right? So we're not talking about revenue. We're talking about the net, if you will. So why am I telling you all of this? Well, the first greatest form of self-love is investing in yourself. When you're presented with an opportunity from a coach, a business, whatever it is, an organization, and they're telling you, hey, to work with me, it's going to be 1,000, 5,000, 20,000, right? And in some cases, it's way more than that. I want you to look at it in terms of an investment in yourself and not a loss. I don't want you to think that you're giving money away that you won't get back in return. That's the value exchange that we make in the marketplace each and every day. So let's take it when you go to Walmart or Publix. When you go there to buy a bag of apples, you have to give them a few dollars to get these bag of apples. And you're okay with making that exchange because you see it as worthy. Now, I want you to think about that in terms of yourself. If you give, let's say, $1,000 to a marketer, to a salesperson who's going to teach you a skill, I want you to think what you would be able to do once you get that skill. Because here's the thing I absolutely freaking love when it comes to investing in ourselves. You're going to get a skill that's going to last you for a lifetime. Now, think about if you add 2 skills or 3 skills, right? When you do that, it has this multiplying effect. One skill that I think is absolutely amazing for people in business to have is the skill of storytelling. If you can tell stories, people will absolutely love your content and they'll stick around to hear you more than the average Joe. When people come and they want to hear information from, let's say, a webinar or a course or whatever it is, they want to hear the stories. And there's been books that I've read that talked about how it's the stories that people remember. Not necessarily the concepts, if you will. One of my favorite stories is from Roger Bannister. And I'm not going to go into detail because that's a whole nother topic. But I'll tell you to check that guy out. But the very first form, one of the greatest forms of loving yourself and showing yourself that you're worthy is investing in yourself. So my challenge to you would be to increase your investments right now by 20%. So if you spend $100 on yourself per month, let's do 120. That's not a big jump. If you're already at 500 or let's say 1,000, invest 20% more. And let's see what happens with your business. Here's the second greatest form of self-love. And I'll tell you about a story about when I quit my job, the mindset that I had as I was leaving. So I worked as a high school counselor for about 4 years, and I did that here in South Florida. And it was great for the time that it lasted, but I was definitely ready to leave to find more fulfilling ventures, if you will. So to be a school counselor in the high schools, our day starts at 7:15 a.m. And to get there by 7:15 a.m., I had to get up by 6 a.m. to get ready, fight through traffic and all that other stuff. And I did that consistently for 4 years. And out of those 4 years, I'll be honest with you guys, I may have missed a combination of 10 total days. 10, okay? Think about that, right? So that's about 2 days each year I'm missing, right? Only two. And the reason why that was so little is because I had this fear that if I left, right, if I took time off, I would come back and there would be fires everywhere, right? Everybody would be needing me. A kid would have gone into depression, may have become suicidal. Like I would have came back and had 100 emails, which has happened, right? Like I just had this fear that if I left and took time off, it would be chaos. So I was hooked. I was chained to my desk, and I always came to work. And as I was leaving, I started to ask myself this question, and it was simple. It was this: if I can get up at 6 a.m. to go to a job that I kind of like, right? That I kind of like, and be effective and productive, why can't I do that for myself? And instantly I knew that I needed to start getting up at a bare minimum by 6 a.m. when I started my own business. And that's something that I see a lot of people struggle with. When they start their business and they don't have that boss, that supervisor kind of lurking over them, they kind of get a little lazy, if you will. And I tell you, first off, it comes from self-worth. It comes from that self-love. And because I love myself, I was even more willing to be more consistent at my business than working for the school. Even though, hey, I love the kids, I love the people that I work with. Trust me when I say that is someone else's dream and vision, right? It's the superintendent's dream and vision. It's your principal's dream and vision. It's not mine. So when it comes to my dreams, I have to be willing to put in even more work than what I did for someone else. So the second greatest form of self-love is consistency. You have to be consistent in whatever it is that you want to do because you see it as worthy. You see it as yourself as worthy. I need you to show up for you in ways that you've shown up for other people. I can even make the case that the way you speak to yourself is very important. The way you speak to other people with kindness, respect, you need to do that for yourself as well because you are just as worthy. And I can make the case that you're even more worthy, but hey, we're not going to go there. But you're just as worthy as your friends, the customers that you're serving, your mentors, everybody. So I need you to be just as consistent. So these are the two greatest forms of self-love, and I see it every freaking day. People struggle with this, especially my entrepreneurs. They don't want to invest themselves because they feel like, hey, they're not worthy or they're going to mess up. They're not going to get a return on their investment. And then also they're not willing to be consistent because they don't see it as worthy. They don't see themselves as being deserving of putting themselves first, being consistent, and all these other things. So be on the lookout for these two things. Find a way to be consistent. And I'm going to do a whole nother podcast on that. Just real quick, I give you a great book. Atomic Habits is a great book to check out to help you with consistency. But it does start off with knowing that you are worthy and prioritizing yourself. So be consistent. And guys, start to invest in yourself. And as I mentioned, start off with 20%. So if you love this podcast, if you felt like, man, Coach Wells is giving me a lot of great gems, like, comment, and subscribe, especially the subscribe part, because every time I put out a podcast episode, I want you guys to hear it. I don't want you guys to miss any of this good stuff. So this is Coach Wells. I'm a licensed therapist, and thank you for joining.